Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Hello, welcome. My name is Joe Long, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Chair and Director of the San Juan School of International Affairs here at Georgia Tech. And this year we have a special guest with us on our faculty, Ambassador Marion Creekmore, who joins us after a career of excellence in the diplomatic corps. He's brought many things to our students, faculty this semester. Today he brings us another speaker as well. Picking that up? Good.
We have competition in the line.
Okay. Ambassador Creekmore, to say a word about him before he introduces our featured speaker. He's a retired career diplomat, former ambassador to Sri Lanka and the Maldives, as well as head of department for our embassy in India as well. He's had a storied career. One of the most interesting episodes is chronicled in his book, A Moment of Crisis, where Dr. Marion Creekmore tells us a little bit about his experience traveling with President Carter to North Korea in 1994, and that dangerous episode in American foreign policy. So we're delighted to have him with us. We share him with Emory University, and he has for many years been a director of programs at the Carter Center as well. So in Atlanta and a national resource. So Marion, if you join us to introduce today's speaker.
Thank you, Bill. Good morning. We're fortunate today to have with us as a speaker someone who is intimately involved and knowledgeable about South Asia, particularly his own country, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and all of the issues surrounding the war that's going on in Afghanistan, and which, of course, Pakistan is playing a major role. Mr. Asif Hussain is the Consul General at the Pakistan Consulate General in New York, a position that he took on in November of last year. He is a man that is very well known in the world of diplomacy and in the academy. He entered the Foreign Service of his government of Pakistan in 1987. He served in Islamabad in the Foreign Office there dealing with Afghanistan, South Asia, and the Middle East. He has had overseas postings in Egypt, in Bahrain, in Bangladesh, and postings in the United States, first with the Pakistan mission to the United Nations, and then with the Pakistan embassy in Washington, where I first met him. I think his coming to Atlanta has advanced his career. let me tell you why. I first met him when he was the political counselor at the embassy in Pakistan, and he came to Atlanta and spoke. And then very shortly thereafter, he became the Minister for Political Affairs at the embassy in Pakistan, and he came to Atlanta and spoke. And now he only recently became the Consul General in New York, and he's flown down from New York today. He just arrived from the airport. We're putting back on a plane this afternoon after he speaks to you and then speaks in my class, and he'll go back to being a Consul General again with all the work that includes. I mentioned that he had some experience in the academy. He has been a visiting professor at the School of Public Management in Lahore, Pakistan. He's taught at the Police Academy in Islamabad, Pakistan, and he's taught at the Air Force College in Pakistan in Karachi. So this is a person who's had great experience bilaterally and multilaterally. When he was at the UN, he served as the vice chairman for the UN Committee on the Peaceful Settlement of Disputes.
Because we have competition in the lobby, I just want to make sure you really speak into the microphone, okay? So we don't miss a single word, okay? And actually, if you wanted to hold it, we can take it out. I don't know if you want to do that.
It's okay. It's
okay. Great.
I
with Afghanistan and with what's going on in South Asia. So it's a great privilege and honor to introduce to you today Mr. Asif Hussain.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor Marion Creekmore, for the very kind introduction. In fact, I have been to Emory
I think from the last 3-4 years, regularly I have been there with and working with Professor Marion and his classes, and some speaking engagements which were arranged by Halley Institute. And it's a pleasure to be here in Georgia Tech University to speak and share my views regarding role of Pakistan on war against terrorism. It's indeed an honor and a privilege to be here with you all, ladies and gentlemen. Terrorism, ladies and gentlemen, is the most serious challenge Pakistan is presently grappling with, that is potentially threatening its society and very existence. It is a serious threat to the international peace and stability and must be addressed by joint international efforts. We must win this war, as failure is not an option. Pakistan is suffering from the blowback effects of over 3 decades of conflict in Afghanistan that has brutalized its society. It has undermined our security by increasing incidents of militancy, suicide bombing, and IED attacks, etc. Afghan refugees camps in our border area are breeding grounds for terrorism and are serving as sanctuaries and safe havens for terrorists. They are source of narcotic drugs and weapons smuggling, not only into Pakistan but throughout the world. Ladies and gentlemen, in the wake of terrorist attacks of 9/11 against the US, Pakistan decided to fight this war as an ally of the US. Both countries are since fighting an asymmetrical and elusive war against terrorism and militancy. The US and Pakistan, both victims of terrorism, are cooperating with each other to fight this menace. Pakistan has granted access to the US forces to use some of its air bases. We are sharing intelligence with the US. We are coordinating operations against terrorists and providing logistical support for the US forces in Afghanistan. 84% of containerized cargo and 40% of fuel requirements of ISAF is passing through Pakistan. We have deployed over 150,000 troops, which includes 9+ infantry divisions. We have put in place 438 artillery pieces, 142 tanks, and 80% of army aviation assets to fight militancy. We have established 821 border posts along Pak-Afghan border, compared to 112 by coalition forces to prevent infiltration to and from Afghanistan. We have strengthened border controls by introducing biometrics and identity documents at checkposts. We have improved border monitoring and intelligence sharing mechanisms with Afghanistan and United States and have established joint border control centers, commonly known as BCCs, for coordination purposes. The objective of these measures is to deny Al-Qaeda and Taliban territory for launching terrorist attacks, B, to stabilize Afghanistan, and C, to defend Pakistan from the fallout of a 30-year Afghan conflict, which has been a source of extremism, terrorism, flow of heavy weaponry, narcotics smuggling, and refugees. Ladies and gentlemen, President Obama declared Al-Qaeda a single greatest threat, and to disrupt, dismantle, and defeat Al-Qaeda, a US objective. An effective partnership with Pakistan is a key component of that strategy. His Afghan strategy emphasizes a comprehensive approach for stability in Afghanistan, supports regional approach, negotiations with reconcilable Taliban, strengthening governance, curbing corruption and narco trade, and capacity building of Afghanistan's security sector. It promised solidarity with the people of Pakistan in fighting terrorism, support for democracy, democratic institutions, and economic development. His doctrine rests with the premise that economic stability and political stability are intertwined and must be addressed simultaneously. It stipulates that only through a viable economy can Pakistan and other nations in our region address the human needs that will make our people reject the nihilism of the jihadist terrorist extremists. The leadership of both Pakistan and Afghanistan view that a comprehensive strategy that includes military, political, and economic elements can defeat terrorism. It is in their interest to work together and sort out misunderstandings and misgivings of the past. A central component of Pakistan's counter-terrorism policy is to build a national perception that war against terrorism is our own war. There is consensus in Pakistan today to fight terrorists and militants and to make sure that our territory is not used for launching terrorist attacks anywhere against any country. Pakistan is following a comprehensive strategy that includes military, political, and development measures to promote rule of law, education, political pluralism, economic opportunities, and rejection of violence. To deny new recruits for terrorists, we have to create economic opportunities, because somebody who does not have a future is more likely to become a suicide terrorist than somebody who has a chance to earn a graduate degree. The development of tribal areas in FATA region of Pakistan would enhance economic opportunities and wean away unemployed youth from the appeal of extremists. Pakistan has firmly responded to the challenges of extremism and militancy. Its commitment to eliminate foreign and local terrorists and extremists from our soil is unwavering. We may lack necessary tools and capabilities, but certainly not intent, spirit, will, or commitment. Pakistan alone, of course, cannot win this war. In fact, no country can win this war alone either. Pakistan has been the worst victim of terrorism. We have been subjected to hundreds of suicide attacks against both civilian as well as military targets. 59 suicide attacks were undertaken against Pakistan in 2007, 54 in 2008, 76 in 2009, and 49 in 2010, and 12 so far in 2011. Pakistan has suffered 36,000 civilian casualties. I repeat, 36,000 civil casualties in suicide attacks since 9/11. We have lost or sacrificed 2,740 soldiers, brave soldiers of Pakistan, and another 8,500 have been injured while fighting this war against terrorism. This is a very heavy price which we have paid and we continue to pay until we win this war. Our security forces have inflicted heavy damage to the terrorists. They have killed and injured around 18,000 terrorists in operations against them. We have apprehended several hundreds of them, both of Al-Qaeda and Taliban operatives, and handed them over to USA for interrogation and for doing justice with them. Pakistan has killed and captured more Al-Qaeda and Taliban terrorists than any other country of the world. We have given more sacrifices than any other country which is part of the coalition forces. As of January 2011, we have lost, as I said before, 2,740 of our brave soldiers, including 290 officers, which included 3-star, 2-star, and 1-star generals. One reason for high mortality Maybe that our soldiers do not have proper protective gears and equipment to launch night operations through land or air. We hope that necessary tools such as night vision goggles, helicopters and its spare parts, satellite and radio communication equipment, intelligence monitoring equipment, etc., will be made available to our forces on top priority basis to fight adaptive and resilient Al-Qaeda and Taliban terrorists. Ladies and gentlemen, Pakistan's anti-terrorism efforts have been acknowledged by the United States. However, some concerns have been expressed, particularly in media, about presence of Al-Qaeda and Taliban sanctuaries in FATA region of Pakistan. Some apprehensions have also been expressed regarding cross-border infiltrations and presence of some Taliban sympathizers within Pakistani society. While these concerns cannot be rejected outrightly, because traditionally we have many sanctuaries in our tribal areas, and I said before in my earlier part of presentation that these refugee camps, they are providing the sanctuaries and hideouts to Taliban and Afghanistans, and quite often after fighting a war they come back and for rest and recreation in those camps. Therefore, there is a requirement that these camps should be removed from the Pakistani soil and relocated them inside Afghanistan. According to the last November Pentagon report, which is regarding progress towards security and stability in Afghanistan, which was submitted to the Congress, and I quote, "Overall, US relations with Pakistan military have improved. There have been many positive steps taken to dismantle extremist networks and deny terrorist safe havens in Pakistan. And there is still much work to be done, but there is a positive trend line towards achieving the overall strategic goals," unquote. Ladies and gentlemen, Pakistan, with the help of the US, has destroyed the backbone of Al-Qaeda in our tribal areas. The operations against militants in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Swat and Malakal regions and South Waziristan were highly successful. These areas have been cleared and are held since then by our army. The reconstruction of these areas and their transfer to the effective civilian control, of course, is a huge undertaking, and certainly it is beyond the capacity of Pakistan at the moment, given our bad economic situation. Ladies and gentlemen, the rehabilitation and settlement of IDPs from Malakand, Swat and Waziristan regions, coupled with the effects of the catastrophic flooding in Pakistan, these are gigantic challenges, particularly given the financial difficulties of Pakistan. Failure to rehabilitate and providing them job opportunities to these IDPs and flood affected effectees risks losing the initiative and gains so hardly earned by your forces, and would certainly help and play into the hands of terrorists and militants. 8 years sustained effort of NATO ISAF coalition forces in Afghanistan and Pakistani military operations against terrorists and militants in its territory. So far, by the end of December 2010, we had taken some 772 of such operations. These operations have degraded Al-Qaeda and Taliban militants. Their sanctuaries and hideouts have been destroyed, their communication network smashed, and they are on the run. The question is how to make those gains sustainable once the drawdown of the US forces begins in July this year. The worry is that the problems of governance, mismanagement, corruption, law and order narcotic trade, and warlords, etc., still plague the Afghan government. A lack of focus on the situation in Afghanistan, it's a point of caution that a lack of focus on the situation in Afghanistan and Pakistan, failure to win popular support, impatience, and too much reliance on military force has limited US effectiveness. If the United States cannot get people on its side, I'm afraid then any number of bombings is not going to change the ground reality in that region. The way forward, in my view, is to stabilize Afghanistan, develop effective, functional, and operational mechanisms for action against Al-Qaeda, Taliban, and other militants, a real-time intelligence sharing between US and Pakistani intelligence setups, sensitizing the Pakistan-Afghanistan border to prevent the flow of weapons, drugs, cross-border movement of militants through enhanced surveillance, etc. It would require development of trans-border economic zones to create employment opportunities and revival of agricultural sector in Afghanistan in particular. To pursue a strategy that is comprehensive, promotes reconciliation and harmony, improves governance, curbs corruption and narcotic trade, encourages growth and development programs, and builds the capacity of Afghan army and police. The policy should be to strengthen and empower the Afghan people and government, and then gradually transfer them the responsibility to take charge of their own affairs. In the end, I will say it is most important to build trust in US-Pakistan relationship and build common, durable, and strategic values on which it is to be built. Going forward, the timing and nature of talks with the Taliban should be set by Afghans, Pakistanis, and Americans working together. The talks with Taliban must be transparent to the Pakistanis, Afghans, and the Americans. I will stop here, and I know there would be a lot of, it's a big topic, there would be a lot of questions. You are most welcome to shoot them all at me. Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
So you said at the end that we need to have cooperation among all the parties, Afghans, Pakistanis, Americans, on negotiations with the Taliban and so forth. Does that imply that that is not happening now? That, as I understood, that the talks were often just bilateral and not multilateral. Is that the case? And why is that?
Thank you very much. In fact, I beg to differ with your information. My information is that there is some sort of coordination which is going on between the US, Pakistan, and the Afghanis. And we hope that whatever negotiations they will happen with Taliban, all the parties, all the stakeholders, USA, Pakistan, and Afghanistan will be on board. And that will be a recipe for success of these talks. And that's the way the talk should forward. Sir.
Thank you for your presentation. You talked about Pakistan-Afghanistan relations, but there's another player in this. It's actually a triangle, and you didn't say anything about that. And I was wondering if you could comment on India's involvement in Afghanistan and how that complicates the situation.
Thank you very much. I think it's a very, very important question.
See, before you start, I've been asked to repeat the question so everybody in the audience hears that before. The question was simply, what is the role of India in all of this?
Regarding the role of India, India is an extended player in this region. It's a very important country of the region, and we do not mind Indian legitimate role in the Afghan crisis. The triangle which I refer to, USA, Afghanistan, and there are many players in Afghanistan. Central Asian states are there, Russia is there, Iran is there, China is there, India is there. But I was referring to three most important key players, which was USA, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. Yes, we will appreciate, we welcome Indian role in the development and reconstruction area of Afghanistan. But we should be sensitive to Indian presence there, in the sense that these Indian involvement should not be to the detriment of Pakistan. If Indians, they exploit their presence there to destabilize parts of Pakistan, including Balochistan, it will complicate the situation further. But if Indian involvement is limited to the construction of roads and the development projects, particularly in northern and eastern and western part of Afghanistan, we have no problem with that. India is a sovereign country, so is Afghanistan. And if India is providing them assistance, so is Pakistan. And I know that India has provided a substantial assistance to them. It's $1 billion plus assistance, and Pakistan has also provided, despite constraints of its resources, we have provided about $300 million of assistance in roads, infrastructure, education, and health sectors. So we are not opposed to that, but that will come later. The key negotiations has to be between the three partners, which is America, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. Thank you.
Does a great part of the population in Pakistan feel that many of its problems with terrorism and distress there result from their position siding with the Americans on their fight in Afghanistan?
I think probably everyone heard that, but the question is, does the population of Pakistan have great concerns about Pakistan's role in working with the U.S. in Afghanistan? That's basically the question.
Thank you very much. There are two aspects to this. Yes, there is consensus in Pakistan that we should work with USA to tackle this menace. There is consensus in Pakistan. You ask anybody, is it your problem? The answer is yes. But the difference is, if you ask people about the perceptions about the US, I'm afraid that perception is many times it's negative. I believe you have the recent polls in your mind which was carried out in Pakistan, in which a very large number of Pakistanis, they expressed concern in that direction. Actually, that is regarding the modalities of doing things. If USA is seen doing things their own way, disregard of the local culture and realities, then I'm afraid that it will get back a negative perception in Pakistan. But as far as our war against terrorism is concerned and Pakistan's relationship with USA is concerned, I think there is consensus in Pakistan that these relationships should move further, and there should be cooperation between the USA and Pakistan to address these problems. Yes, ma'am.
I think I can speak loud enough. I'm concerned about two things. I'm wondering what the effect of the drone attacks that are sometimes cross-border are having on the Pakistani population. I'm worried about it in terms of U.S.-Pakistani relations. And the second thing I'm concerned about, I don't know how big the Pakistani Taliban is. I don't understand the relationship with the Afghan Taliban. And what I'd like to know is reports that it's called the ISA, your intelligence service? ISI, that there are divisions within the ISI and some are pro-Pakistan Taliban, so that it leads to maybe withholding intelligence information in real time that you thought was essential. So those are two issues in terms of U.S.-Pakistani relations.
I agree with Talk Loud.
All right. Thank you very much. Coming to the first question on the issue of drones. In principle, there is consensus in Pakistani establishment that these drones have taken out a large number of terrorists, both from Al-Qaeda as well as from which you call local local terrorists, TTP. This is also true that these drones have caused a lot of collateral damage in terms of losses of civilian lives. The problem with drones is that the number of collateral damage is increasing gradually, and there is perception in Pakistan that it is, number one, it has lost its relative advantages, and its negative impacts is greater. And in this regard, I can quote you also one of the WikiLeaks cable that has appeared, and in which U.S. Ambassador Ann Patterson has referred to these drones, and she said that, and I quote that, I think that would be very relevant. She said that targeting of militants risks destabilizing the Pakistani state, alienating both the civilian government and military leadership, and provoking a border governance crisis in Pakistan without finally achieving the goal. You see, the fundamental reason for this is that if these drone attacks are undertaken with the help of Pakistan, why not Pakistan should take action against them? If these drone attacks are carried out by Pakistanis, it will not have a blowback effect. It will not destabilize the government in Pakistan. It will have the acceptability among the people and local population that their government is taking action against these hardcore militant targets. But the problem is when the US attacks them and people die, it comes back to hurt the government. It comes back to hurt the civil and military establishments, and it destabilizes Pakistan, and it provides a fodder of new recruits for local Taliban as well as hardcore Al-Qaeda and other militants in the entire region. That is why we are not opposed to drone attacks as per se, but what we want is, we want to own these attacks. We want the ownership of these attacks. And of course, when Pakistan takes the ownership of these drone attacks, naturally there will be some collateral damage, but then that would be acceptable to the local people. We will immediately go back to them and give them compensation and take other measures in order to satisfy them. So that's my response to your question number one. Regarding your second question regarding Pakistani Taliban, actually, let me give you a little background of this whole scenario. Way back in 2003, 2004, and even in 2005, there was a difference between global terrorists such as Al-Qaeda, which had global reach, which have global objectives, and they have the global capacity to take terrorist attacks, and the local terrorists, local organizations which have limited agendas, local agendas. They had the local reach and they had the local objectives. But when we started confronting them, ISAF coalition forces in Pakistan, they started pushing them militarily. Over a period of time, there has been an overlapping between various militant outfits. There are areas where they are cooperating, and we have reports that there are some linkages which have developed between these two. The more the pressure, the more the chances that these militant organizations they will interact with each other and they will cooperate with each other. Taliban Tehreek-e-Taliban in Pakistan, there are Tehreek-e-Taliban in Afghanistan also. These are localized terrorist organizations. We have banned them in Pakistan. They are illegal outfits, and they are attacking Pakistan also, the government of Pakistan, and exploiting particularly these drone attacks. And wherever the United States goes unilaterally, they immediately reach there, and it provides them a propaganda that, look here, a third country is coming here and killing your people, and your own government is not taking any action against them. So Tehreek-e-Taliban, which is a local organization, is trying to hit or undermine the writ of the government of Pakistan. Therefore, we have a legitimate interest in taking action against Taliban, and we are. And during last about 2 to 3 years, we have killed thousands of them. They are berated. They have been removed from Khyber Agency. They have been removed from Bajaur Agency. They have been removed from Muhammad Agency, South Waziristan, Malakand, and many other Sawat. And all these areas, in fact, they have been dislodged effectively. Their infrastructure has been destroyed, and their sanctuaries have been smashed, and they have left the area. Maybe in small groups they are there somewhere, but they have left the area, and that area is held by Pakistan Army since they have been recaptured or retaken from the Taliban. We are still holding our it in Bajaur Agency area, we are holding our it in Khyber Agency area, we are holding it in South Waziristan, we are holding it in Sawat and Malakand. But the bigger challenge which I mentioned in my brief address was how to start reconstruction in that area, and how we will take a transition from a military hold to a civilian control, which is essentially led by police and civil forces. We do not have our civil and police personnel do not have the capacity at the moment to hold that area. That is why we still have huge presence of military personnel in all those areas, so that these people they don't come back. Coming back to your last question, part of the question, that there is a division in ISI regarding the treatment with Taliban. No, there is no division. I don't know any division. I think ISI is a very organized institution, intelligence organization, which is playing a very critical and important role in this war against terrorism. These drone attacks which I referred to before could not be effective unless there is a ground intelligence which used to be provided by ISI to the US forces, and then these attacks used to come. These attacks will not be effective unless you have people on ground, and only ISI has been and is providing those resources. Regarding this division within ISI, let me further clarify this point. Intelligence agencies, whether it is ISI, CIA, KGB, GRU, or RAW, or any agency, they essentially depend on their resources, on their assets, among friends and among enemies. If you don't have friends in hostile areas, if you don't have friends among the terrorists, if you don't know the context there, you are not going to be effective. You are a useless intelligence setup, whether it is ISI or it is any other setup. So, if somebody sees or hears or listens any contact of an intelligence setup with somebody who is a good guy or somebody who is a bad guy, it doesn't mean that there is some sort of linkages between the two. No. In order to be effective, you have to have resources, you have to have assets all around. Only then you are effective. And the success and effectiveness of ISI is because they have the assets there, they have the resources there, they have friends and those who can come back and inform them what is happening, what the other party is doing. That's why they are effective. That's why CIA needs them. That's why USA needs them. Thank you very much. I hope I am clear. I can't say more than that.
Thank you.
There's been much criticism of the setting of dates certain for the beginning of U.S. withdrawal, which is July of this year, and for the final exit of U.S. troops in in 2014. In fact, General David Petraeus this past week tried to get some leeway on that. Can you comment on the effects of these settings of dates certain? Does it make it look as if the United States is not committed to winning in Afghanistan, and how that perception might affect Pakistan, the government, and the military in Pakistan?
Thank you very much. You see, in my opinion, setting of date is not important. If it is beginning with July and ending in somewhere end of 2014, it's not important. The important question is what will happen after the drawdown of forces, American forces begins. Will we be able to sustain the advantages, sustain peace which we have earned in fighting last 9 years? Or will the Taliban and other militants will come back and it will be another nightmare? That is the more important question to me. What will be the arrangement? What will be, how this drawdown will take a final shape? What will be the shape of, say for example, status of forces agreement between Afghanistan and USA? How the negotiations will proceed and with which elements? Naturally, you can't have reconciliation with all militants and outfits, and some of them they are die-hard criminals and not reconcilable. These are more important questions. If there is a complete understanding amongst the important and relevant players, particularly USA, Afghanistan and Pakistan, which I referred to in my presentation, I think the things will improve. But if we move without consultation, without reaching on a consensus solution how to deal with these elements in post drawdown period, it will come back as a monster, and that would be neither in the interest of Pakistan, nor in the interest of USA, nor in the interest of international community. Sir.
Thank you very much. I wonder if I could address some of these points in a somewhat different way. The top general said that this war is militarily war can't be one Petraeus said that fighting is going to get worse this summer, regardless of any progress you're speaking of, or anyone else is speaking of. Fighting is going to get worse this summer. Furthermore, Petraeus is quoted as saying this war will last through our children's life. And you'll see in the press reports of demands for a permanent base in Afghanistan. If it's going to last through our children's lifetime, if it's not winnable militarily, maybe we should revisit President Karzai's comment when he said he was pulling the war front, saying he'd like to shut down the United States because of civilian destruction.
Marion, can you give me the sense of question? I did get you partly, but
basically, and tell me if I incorrectly interpret your question, but basically, Petraeus and McChrystal are reported to have said that we cannot win this war militarily, that it could go on through the lifetime of our children, and under these kinds of circumstances, should we rethink the whole issue about the American presence in Afghanistan, particularly since President Karzai has said, at least on one occasion, that maybe the Afghans should shoot down the American plane. Did I get your point too?
I wish I could say that.
Thank you very much. It's a difficult question. Let me phrase my answer to that. I think Petraeus is right in one sense, and he's damn right in that sense, and that is that you cannot win a war by military means. You can win battles every day, 7 days of the week, 365 days of the year, but in the end, you may lose a war unless you win hearts and minds of the people. And you can win hearts and minds of the people not by bombing in this part or that part. You can win them by providing them source of livelihood. You have to create a sense of participation in the system. You have to provide them job opportunities. As long as they remain unemployed, they will remain vulnerable to the appeal of terrorists. Anybody who will pay them the money will be able to hire them. That is why President Obama last year, the strategy which he gave forward after 7-8 years of fighting in Afghanistan, it was pleasant to hear him when he said that we want to have a comprehensive strategy, a broadened strategy, which is not dependent on one element of which is military measures. If we want to win peace in Afghanistan, the recipe is that maintain military pressure, but at the same time work for political reconciliation with those who are reconcilable. Isolate the very small number of those terrorists who are irreconcilable. Isolate them. Reconcile those who are reconcilable. Have a broad-based political base in Afghanistan. 2. Bring in developmental measures. This year, USA will be spending about $120 billion in Afghanistan. Last year it spent about $100 billion. If, in my view, $15 to $20 billion or $10 billion would have been invested in hardcore infrastructure towards civil projects, it would have created immense positive changes in Afghanistan. It would have provided employment opportunities to the people. They would have seen a difference in their life. If corruption, mismanagement, the capacity of judiciary, civil and military institutions have been increased, and people could see the benefit of those, the things would have been different. So the important thing is that military tools are one measure. They are not effective unless they are combined with political tools, and they are combined with economic and development agenda and a broader international approach in which all the key players are at least ideologically and otherwise on board, so that stability can be brought in Afghanistan. I think it is achievable. The only thing is that we have to be focused, and we have to be focused in all these areas simultaneously. And I think we are moving in that direction. Pakistan has moved in that direction in areas within Pakistan, and we have been very successful. We were not succeeding in 2004, 2005, 2006. In 2006, we suffered humiliating defeat. In one attack in South Waziristan, we lost about 1,000 soldiers there. And we learned the lesson. And we learned the lesson that we need to mobilize the people. We need to create a situation where people start feeling that these terrorist elements, they are not their friends, they are not on their side. Government is on their side. And that can only be done if we follow a comprehensive strategy which has all these elements. I hope I answered your question.
So almost every day you hear about suicide attacks going on in different parts of Pakistan. So and usually the blame is put on Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. So do you know what the agenda is of this TTP? And is the government trying some diplomatic channels with them also? Because it seems that the trying to bomb them might not be working.
Thank you very much. I think it's a very important question, and we need to answer it very honestly. First of all, we must realize that the effectiveness of military campaign in Afghanistan, led by ISAF and NATO ISAF, and in our part, led by our forces, defense and security forces, have qualitatively and quantitatively degraded Al-Qaeda and militants. I see these suicidal attacks a reflection even confirmation of that statement. Finding no way to fight the Americans in Afghanistan and Pakistani military on this side, the terrorists, both Al-Qaeda, Taliban, including TTP, they have changed their tactics. They are not confronting the military might of Pakistan and coalition forces in this side or on that side. They are trying to create a situation where there is popular support to stop this war, and that is one of the objectives which you are referring to. In my view, TTP has three agenda points. A, to discredit the government and to create a situation where people say that, well, the writ of the government is not there. So they are coming to hit urban centers, rural centers. They have tried to hit military establishments. ISI offices have been hit in a number of cities. I think 5, 6 their offices in different cities have been attacked, and the idea is to ensure or to give an impression, false impression, that the writ of government is not there, and B, to create a situation where people, they start shouting and they start coming back to the government. Well, you are not taking any measures against them. And another tactic is to create a civil strife within society. What they are doing is that they are attacking. Sometimes they try to attack Shia, Imam Barga they call it, Imam Badas, or their places. They wanted to create a wedge between Shias and Sunnis. And then next time they will attack some Sunni mosque. That tactics didn't work. The same people from both these sects, they get together and they said, well, we understand the tactics, we understand their game, we are not going to take the bait. Lately they are trying to create a wedge between Sunnis and Wahhabis, another two sects within the Sunnis. One believes in going to saints and their tombs, and the other doesn't. That's the essential difference between the two. So they are attacking. When they attack these tombs of Islamic saints, they are trying to create wedge between Sunnis and Wahhabis. So their essential, and the third point is they want to destabilize Afghanistan. These are the objectives, and I'm sure that they are not going to succeed in this. The government of Pakistan is very resilient. The people of Pakistan are very resilient. They know their game. They are coming on the side of the government. The only thing is we need to have the resources. Pakistan government, let me say it, I don't feel uncomfortable saying that we have one of the best armies to fight conventional wars, but we do not have, this army does not have the capacity to find an unconventional war. We lack the capacity in counter-insurgency operations. We can fight counter-terrorist operations. We can fight pitch battles against regular armies, say India or any country. But we do not have the capacity to fight irregular wars such as counter-insurgencies, and that we are trying to develop. We are getting into experience. We are getting from the mistakes. We are learning from the mistakes, and I think if international community, particularly USA, can improve the counter-insurgency capacity of Pakistan Defence Forces and civil establishments, particularly police and levies and FCs, it will be very, very helpful and useful in putting to rest this TTP and other militant groups who are trying to terrorize the civilian population and who wants to destabilize both Pakistan and Afghanistan. Well, ma'am.
I had a couple of questions. One is, why is poverty always given as an excuse? Why is poverty given as an excuse for terrorism? Like on 26 November in 2008, there were 10 LET terrorists who entered the Indian city of Mumbai and killed 160 odd people, more than that. And only one of them was caught, Kasab, who said, well, if you had given me the money and you had given me the employment opportunity, I would fight for you. So does that mean that to not be killed by terrorists, you're supposed to go to their country and give them employment?
That is supposed to go to?
that you're supposed to give them employment opportunities just so that they don't come in and create havoc. I mean, how can you say that? How can you expect the people of Mumbai who were killed for no reason? I've seen poor people in my country, but they do not all think about being recruited as assassins. And I just don't get the.
Okay. Thank you very much. First of all, let me sympathize with you. The attack on Mumbai, which you are referring to, was a terrorist attack, and it was very unfortunate, and it shouldn't have happened, but it has happened, unfortunately. You see, these terrorists, they don't have a religion, they don't have a faith, they don't belong to human race, in my view. Some of them, they are hardcore terrorists, and they cannot be weaned away by any. Sometimes it is ideology, sometimes it is money, sometimes it is revenge, sometimes deprivations. There are a number of reasons. Many years back, there was a research which was carried out here in the United States regarding because a very large number of these terrorists, they were arrested, and about 600 plus were handed over to USA by Pakistan. And I met with the director who was dealing with them, with these interrogations and all that, who was maintaining a record on them. And I asked her, I invited her to my residence along with many other diplomats, and I asked her this question particularly: what is the reason? What makes a people? Because I can't understand it. Why people give their life just to kill other innocent people? Even today, I can't imagine why people will give their life to take lives of others. They don't know who they are. Indiscriminate killing of people, it doesn't make sense. A normal, sane person can't make such a decision. Why people do that, I still have no answer. But anyway, I asked her what are the main reasons, because you have seen the record of about 1,000 plus interrogations and debriefings by the USA. She told me that one of the main reasons for these people becoming terrorists is that somewhere along the line they feel that they have no say in the system. They don't have any hope in the system. They have some sort of tragedies in their families, and since they don't believe in the system, they don't have to say in the system, therefore there is incentive for them. If somebody exploits them, they are more vulnerable. So I know for a fact that in case of Pakistan, I can speak about Pakistan, it's difficult for me to speak for others. There are many cases which have come to our notice where people have, if there is a drone attack, say for example in this area, and 15 people die, 5 of them were civilians. They will reach to their homes, meet their mother, father, brothers, and will sympathize with them, lure them into that a terrible thing has happened to you and you need to take a revenge. This is your culture also. We will support you, we will give you this and that. And they approach them, particularly when you are vulnerable. And they don't go by one vulnerability. If you have any vulnerability, they will approach you and try to tackle that. This is the way the life is. There is no one single reason why people turn militants and why people turn terrorists. You have to treat them on case-to-case basis. But generally, I was talking generally. Generally, those who have resources and they can go for education, say for example, they can earn a graduate degree, there is less chance that those people, they will have an appeal from these militants and terrorists. That was my point which I was trying to make. And that is true even for those who attacked Mumbai 2 years back. Sir, ma'am.
Does Greg Mortensen, who builds schools in remote areas and is very popular in the United States, do you know if he has any impact on terrorism or foreign policy? Are you familiar with whom I'm speaking about, Greg Mortensen?
I'm afraid I'm not aware of that. Therefore, it will be difficult for me to answer that question, but I can give an answer in general term, if you want. The role of education in countering terrorism. If you want to hear my comments on that, I can give. In my view, I think education is one of the most important element for development of any country. I don't recall any developed nation where the literacy rate is not in 90s. I can see one or two countries which are underdeveloped where the literacy rate is high, but such as Sri Lanka, but there is not a single country which I know, I can imagine of, where there is low literacy rate and the country has developed. So there is a direct linkage between education and development. And I believe that education is one of the very most important element to address the issue of terrorism. If we can provide quality education where there is emphasis on tolerance, where there is emphasis on human relations, interfaith harmony, tolerance for other cultures, tolerance for difference of opinion, and overall the role which a country plays in this globalized world, I think it will be very, very effective way to wean away the young generation away from the appeal of terrorists. Sir. No.
I was interested in
Same question.
You answered the response. Thank you.
So you mentioned earlier that if Pakistan, first of all, let me thank you. I grew up in Pakistan, so I relate to that, and thank you for doing this outreach program. More of these should happen so that the larger American public can figure out what our stance is. My comment was, or question was, you said if Pakistan were to own the drone strikes, the blowback would not be as bad as when the American forces do it unilaterally. But Pakistan did own the ground operations in the mid-2000s in the tribal areas, and part of the blowback was that the TTP, the Taliban Pakistan, their response was to make the Pakistani state their target. And that situation has gotten worse as you started quoting statistics. So would just owning strikes, drone strikes, would that minimize the blowback as such? Because the evidence for the ground operations seems to be in a different direction.
Thank you very much. Which part of Pakistan are you from? You are from Karachi. All right. Indiscriminate bombing, whether it is carried out by Pakistan or any other country, is going to create problems. In present day world, as in the past, you have to take action, you have to isolate, you have to identify your targets, try to isolate them and engage them where the collateral damage is minimum. We did a blunder when we started sending army troops, gunship helicopters, artillery pieces, whatever you name, and started throwing it at the terrorists where they were perceived to be. Naturally, these people, they hide. Most of the time they try to hide in urban centers among the populations so that they are not a soft target. They don't want to engage the regular forces directly. And if you go for a discriminate bombing, well, you will have a blowback effect. And we did, as you said. But we learned along the way. We learned it hard way. And then we started planning it in advance. We started a policy of wait and see. Because these militants, they are not going to stay at a place forever. They will come out. You have to keep an eye. Sometimes you will miss them. Of course, you will miss them. But most of the time, you will get them. When they come out, and they are at a place where there is less population, and you can knock them out, that is the time to knock them out. This is precisely what US is doing. But still there is some collateral damage. Still people blame government of Pakistan that, well, your sovereignty is impinged. Well, why you are allowing a third country to attack your own citizens and kill them? These are the hard questions. In order to, we understand that we have to take action against them. The better way is, what we are trying to discuss with the Americans is that give us the ownership of these drone attacks. If we will have ownership, and if we knock down 10 militants and 2 civilians that die, we will be prompt to accept and try to compensate them, and people will have at least a solace that, well, the government is taking action against militants, and if these people they have died in national cause. So that way we can keep people on our side, and we can isolate these militants. Ma'am.
Has the United States refused to allow Pakistan to manage the drones, or is this subject not been broached yet?
It has been broached. It has been broached, but there are some technical issues which are there. How to operate them. Then there is sensitivity of technologies also involved in it. What type of drones will be useful, which Pakistan can claim its ownership on those attacks. So these are technical questions, I think, and these questions have to be dealt at a proper level, military to military level. But the fact is that there should be, in my view, ownership of Pakistanis on these drone attacks, so that they don't get a blowback from Pakistani population, and they do not give an opportunity to militants to exploit it. Sir.
I have a follow-up question on the one of the efforts of Greg Mortensen, whom the lady.
Oh, you said about Greg Mortensen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I have read his book also.
Yeah.
3 Cups of Tea. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Well, part of his
Okay.
effort was to establish some schools, and the schools, in part, their mission was to educate both men and women. And the implication is that the status of women in Pakistan is that they have a reduced role compared to maybe other countries, and particularly such as the United States. What is the status of women as you see it in Pakistan?
All right. Before I answer your question, let me give one small comment on Greg Mortensen. I think he has done a wonderful job. After leaving these expeditions and changing into this philanthropy, I think for Pakistan and even in Afghanistan, he has built a very large number of schools, and he has done a great service to the Pakistani nation, and particularly in those backward areas where there were hardly any school in those areas. So my hats are for him, and I regard him as one of the champions in fighting terrorism, because this is one way how you fight terrorism. You educate people, you empower them, you give them a feeling that they can think what is good for them and what is not good for them. So that way, in a long term, you are creating a generation which is educated about what is right and what is wrong, and that will decide, that will make the job of these terrorist outfits very, very difficult when they grow up. Coming back to your question, which was regarding status of women in Pakistan. In my opinion, let me be very honest, it is not where I would like to see it. Although in Constitution and in all our law books, it is said that it is equal. They have the equal rights. And in case of Parliament, even they have been granted additional rights. They are above the men, where they have 33% of seats reserved for them, exclusively for women, and then they have the right to contest the elections as equals with men. I think we need to do a lot for the emancipation of women in Pakistan. We are already doing that, and these reforms are part of that agenda. Women are about 50 plus, 50.4 or 50.5% in Pakistan, and 49.5 or 49.6% are men. I think it's very important that they should be empowered and they should be brought into the overall labor force, overall intellectual force to drive Pakistan into a state where we can say that they are equally participating in its development and progress in 21st century. In case of tribal areas, the condition is worse in rural and tribal areas, particularly in tribal areas. In South Waziristan, which I was referring to again, 3% of women, they go to schools. I mean, women children, and 18% of boys, they join the schools. So that is a very sorry state in those areas, and we need to reform those areas, but that reform will come only gradually. When we have development progressing outward from the peripheries, and when people and communities see the benefits of development, then there will be incentive for them to join and become part of that development, and that needs time and that needs resources. Huge resources are required for that, but we hope that we are moving in that direction, and the status of women in Pakistan will further improve, and they will be participating more and more role in the development of Pakistan. Today we have women in all professional fields in urban areas. We have them in military, we have them in judiciary, we have them in parliament, we have them in teaching, we have them in banking. You name the sector and they are there. But we need to further empower them and to take this empowerment into the rural areas and finally into the tribal areas. Hopefully we'll be able to do that.
First of all, I would like to appreciate and acknowledge Pakistan's diplomatic and bureaucratic circle reaching out to pass their message on to the global community, and secondly, SysTip platform, which is usually coming up with these kind of platforms. I'm trying to cut short my questions to just one. So far, we have talked about Pakistan's role on war on terror, but what Pakistan itself has, the future for this particular war on terror. What policies do they have? What kind of measurements do they think they have to establish? What kind of effectiveness measures they are having in their mind, and in general policies? And are they seeing that we are progressing, we are making efforts? May not be quantitatively, but at least qualitatively, are we making progress?
Thank you very much. The first and foremost essential component of fighting this war and winning this war is that you have to create awareness and public opinion in favor of it. And I think the credit goes to the government of Pakistan, the current government of Pakistan. The credit goes to media, that they have created awareness in Pakistan. People today, they are convinced that this is our war. So this perception that this is our war, it was not there in 2003 or 2004. If you look at the polls at that time, majority of the people in Pakistan were saying that this is an American war. This is a Western war. It is only since 2008 that the government of Pakistan started mobilizing the public opinion. They were reaching out to them and telling them, well, maybe it is their war, but primarily it is our war. This war is taking place in cities and rural areas of Pakistan. It is taking place in Punjab, it is taking place in Sindh, it is happening in Balochistan, it is happening everywhere. There are people among us who do not like to see Pakistan developing, progressing, being a moderate Muslim state, progressive Muslim state. That campaign has taken roots. Today, people feel and people are convinced that it is our war. We are convinced at a government level that, well, we have to fight this war anyway, with or without the help of US and other countries. It is better, while US is there, we should take advantage of that. US is a big power. We can get a lot of information, we can get a lot of training, we can benefit from each other's experience, we can benefit from each other's presence. The operations which are taking place in tribal areas, these operations are coordinated operations. In military terms, they say that anvil and horn type operations. You block and we attack. If there is an attack coming from the coalition forces from the west, they have already coordinated with Pakistan in advance that these areas will be they will be attacked. Taliban or militants will be attacked in these areas. So Pakistani forces are ready to block them so that they don't run away. And when the attacks goes from Pakistani side and we are pushing them, then the coalition forces block them. So that sort of coordination is going on there. It's not without benefit to them or without benefit to us. It's mutually beneficial relationship. And then we don't have the technologies, we don't have the equipment which is good enough to fight them. There was a time when they had better equipment from compared to Pakistan Army. We used to carry that 303 rifle or some ordinary gun. They were carrying smart SMGs and other sophisticated weapons, Kalashnikovs and other weapons. They were able to engage our forces from a distance. Whereas traditionally, this is the domain of the governments, that you have better equipments compared to rebels and terrorists. So with the help of US and other allies, we are getting training, our troops are getting training, our police personnel are getting regular training, and we are getting weapons, better weapons to fight them. There is more requirement or demand. Maybe we are lacking in some areas. Say for example, we are lacking in satellite technology. We don't have, even today we don't have the capacity to interpret, to intercept satellite communication which is going on between these terrorists. They have satellite telephones and they operate through them. We do not have the capacity to intercept them. We have to do that through USA. We are asking them that please give us this technology so that we can intercept their communications and act promptly, instead of you intercept and then you inform of us and then we take measures on that. That is one area where. Second is night vision capacity, both for the ground forces as well as for the air force. If you can engage them, because these infiltrations, they normally take place at night, and the topography is such that in many areas, particularly in Pakistan, this tribal area, north and south Waziristan, this is like that. Sometimes you don't have line of sight beyond say 50 meters or 100 meters. You can't see the enemy beyond that range because then topography covers them, hides them. You can't carry your tanks there. You have to see through air or through satellite, and then you have to have the equipment to reach there. You go there and then attack them and kill them. But if you have to wait till morning and then you send your reinforcements to engage them, they are gone by then. This is precisely the problem what is happening, that sometimes there have been reports even from the American side, their colleagues tell us that well, our forces saw 5 people crossing from the Afghan side into Pakistani side at this hour, the bearing was this and that, grid was this and that. Well, yes, that they have crossed that, but why didn't you take action? Because we are not able to take action against them. We can't engage them. We can't reach that area because we don't have the capacity. We don't have the helicopters which are equipped with night vision devices. We don't have the guns which are equipped with. We don't have those goggles. Although some of them have been provided now by the US, but they are counted back, and they use them for 2 months and then they give it back for counting. It takes about 4 to 6 weeks, and these militants, these Taliban, they precisely know when the Pakistan army doesn't have those goggles, and that is the area where the problems are. So we have to learn a lot from each other. We have to benefit from, because the stakes are very high. This is a war which is our war. This is a war which is American war. This is a war which is international war, and we have to take it per se as such. Unless we take it unitedly, we will not succeed. Pakistan does not have the capacity, in my view, to eradicate them by itself. We need support from others. We need cooperation of Afghanistan, we need cooperation of USA, we need cooperation of some other players.